Welcome to the Profit Share Mastery Podcast with your hosts, Linda and Press McKissick.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Profit Share Mastery Podcast. I'm Linda McKissick.
And I'm Press McKissick.
And Press, I'm super excited today because we have a wonderful guest.
We do. We're excited.
Awesome. So, Mary, why don't you just kind of jump in and tell everybody a little bit about your story, and then we'll kind of share why we brought you on the Profit Share Mastery Podcast today.
Okay. Hi, my name is Mary Boccardo, and I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's an honor. So I basically, when I was younger, obviously I took the traditional route and I went to college and spent, years paying off my school loans. I went to school to become a registered dietitian. And I worked as a registered dietitian from the beginning of my career. Eventually I branched off to incorporate culinary into that because I thought that it would kind of help me market myself a little bit better. And then basically throughout my career, I've just kind of stayed with what was the safest. I've worked for 20 years now. And just in the last year or so, I really started thinking about how, I could do this for another 20 years, but we're basically in the same place that we were when I started my career. I make good money, decent money. I've always kind of been able to step out when I needed to, when we've had our children and raised our family. But for the most part, I've always just stayed kind of in this little safe bubble of working as a registered dietitian and clinical. And I enjoy it. But just in the last year, I've really started to realize that I don't want to do that for the next 20 years. And I don't think that I'm going to be ready to retire in 20 years at the rate that we're going. And so I've always wanted to get my real estate license. I've thought about it for many, many years. I love real estate. I love looking at it. I love everything about it. And so I took the leap and I got my broker's license in North Carolina. And now I'm just getting started in a whole new career transition.
That's awesome. And that leads to how we kind of met you. You're in our Profit Share Mastery, which, by the way to go to jump right in right in the beginning.
But yeah, I love it.
You're in our Profit Share Mastery course, which, by the way, it relates to everything you do to build your business also. But in our Profit Share Mastery course, the conversation kind of came up about, how hard it is to get people to think, 20 years out in the future or 15 years out in the future, what do I need my life to look like? And what are some life's unexpecteds that might happen that I need to be prepared for? Because, one of the reasons people should build wealth is because, one, what you just said, you spent 20 years in a career and you didn't feel like you'd moved any. So can you kind of talk a little bit about that from your perspective of being someone who gets to see those people fast forward 20 years?
Yeah. So my background, the last 10 years, I worked in long-term care and short-term rehab. And so I've just seen, I can't even count how many times I've seen families have to go through this process of a person in their family becoming elderly and unable to take care of themselves anymore. And you always hear, don't put me in a nursing home, don't put me in a nursing home. And we talk about, families talk about those things, but you really don't talk about it. People really don't plan for something like that to happen. But just as an example, let's say somebody is maybe in their 70s and perfectly healthy, perfectly independent. And then all of a sudden they have a massive stroke and they end up in a hospital, who then sends them to the rehab unit. And the rehab unit can only do so much with the therapists that they have until a person reaches a certain level of basically physical, if they're improvement, sometimes they can improve. And so then that turns into a meeting with the interdisciplinary team of, the therapist and nursing and social work saying, your loved one can't go home in this condition. And what do you do? Because that after that point, it's a private pay situation. And so people who, even if they never wanted to be in a nursing home, they don't have a choice because the team can't safely discharge them to home. And even if they do, and that person needed 24-hour care that they're not getting when they're at home, they're just going to end up right back in the system again. So it really wipes people out financially. People lose their whole fortunes to take care of their own family members. And, you don't really maybe even think about what your parents' finances are until you are in a situation like that. It's just really devastating to see.
Yeah. And I think we kind of got to this point in the Profit Share Mastery because I was telling about my two friends who, because they had prepared and built wealth and worked on their profit share years ago, they had the money to actually provide that 24-hour care for their parents in those homes and probably gave them the best quality life for that last year that they were around. And what joy it gave. I noticed my friends, it gave them to be able to be in a financial situation where they could actually provide that.
Absolutely. And that was what was really inspiring to me, because I've seen it so many times over and over, just families going through this and not being able to afford the private pay at home, but then in a facility, it's not as expensive, but it's extremely expensive.
Yeah, it always kills me, Mary, when I hear people say, when I ask them, well, what are you doing for the future? And this just happened recently when I asked a friend, and she said, well, by that time we won't need as much to live off of. And I said, oh, that's a problem, because I think you need more, because you
Yeah.
don't know what life's unexpected you're going to have to step into. And so I think that is a very scary, slippery slope for people to think, oh, well, by that time I won't need as much money.
Right. If we're lucky, we'll live to be old, but you have to plan for it. And people just don't plan to get old. They just
Yeah.
don't. You don't ever think to ask. I mean, I would never ask my aunts and uncles, how's your financial situation? You don't talk about money. You don't talk about that with your elders. And you don't know, you maybe end up being the one having to take care of them one day because they didn't take care of their finances.
Yeah. And what a strain on your family if you had to bring someone into your home that you really love and care about and you want to see the best for them, but now you don't have the ability to provide some kind of professional to come in and help you with that person. That would be extremely draining emotionally and on your own family and everything else. But whereas if you had the money and you could bring in a professional nurse or someone and pay for them to help you, you could have some real joy in those times with that loved one.
Hmm. Yeah. And on the note that you just mentioned about I've had a financial advisor who actually said that his worst days are when somebody comes in after they're retired and they hand him all the paperwork and they say, how did I do? And by that time they're retired, they're not working anymore. And usually they're not doing very well. They're not ready. So
Right point.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just don't know how to get there. How do you get there? And, I feel like this is really my way of, and just learning about the profit share and just going into real estate now is kind of my way of how I'm planning to get there one day.
Well, can you talk about that, Mary? Because I think so much of why we choose to do something or not to do something is based on the life experiences we've had. And what the part of the reason we really wanted you on here is because you bring the perspective that most people don't get until it's frankly too late. Will you talk about, based on having that knowledge, what would you share with everyone who's listening as it relates to building passive income and financial freedom?
I would just say that I really feel like it's something that I've been thinking about for a long time just because of where I am. And even just seeing people who have been obviously I can't give too much information away because of protected health information. But there are very prominent people who I've seen come through and you would never know that they weren't able to afford, that type of care. And so I kind of it started to snowball in my mind, like, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do to build my own wealth? And real estate to me, so my husband has a 401k, we have that, but really it feels like no matter how hard we work and how much we put into it, I'm projecting out. I was told once by my financial advisor in the very beginning of my career that I would need at least $2.5 million to retire. And at the age of 24, you're like, oh, I can probably get there. I'm young. Well, now I'm 40 and I'm like, I'm not even a quarter of the way there. I'm not even close. And how am I going to get there? So I kind of just seeing, just going through the process of having just the traditional job and traditional retirement, it's just not enough. And that's where most people are in the world. It's just, you're not making as much as you think you are. And when you don't want to look back on it, you want to be looking forward at all times. And so that's what I feel like this career has done for me, as far as, just working in this setting and seeing people over and over go through these situations where they're just not able to afford the end of their life or their family's life, has really put me in a place where I'm like, how am I going to get out of this? What am I going to do to get myself there when it's time?
I love that, Mary. And you're just starting your real estate career. How long have you actually been selling?
I just got my license and I actually just joined Keller Williams in the middle of April. So
Middle of April,
brand new.
You're already in a profit share mastery course with us. So I'm gonna coach you for a second, because I see such opportunity with the years you've already put in. I don't see it as starting over. So a couple of things I would probably say to this is, number one, your knowledge of that long-term healthcare could be something that you give and teach and coach even other people outside of KW to build that relationship, as we talk about building relationships to build your profit share. Also, your culinary skills, right? I mean,
Yes.
who would want to come over to a party and someone's giving that they got culinary skills, or, for your past clients or your client appreciations, to be able to use those kind of skills, or even that topic, because everybody loves, to learn how to cook and, use the pretty knives and all those things. So I just see so much opportunity
Mhm.
not to waste the 20 plus years you've already been, but to now take those and how do I let that become my validity, if you will,
Mhm.
which is what Press and I teach in the course for profit sharing. It's relationships. Who do you want to be a hero to? What's your validity? What are your life experiences? What do you know? What do you have knowledge of that you could help other people with? And then what is other people's value gap? All these things kind of
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. Mary, I'm
Yeah.
curious from your perspective, what do you think's the biggest takeaways you've had so far from going through being in the program and going through the material?
I just the biggest aha for me is how few people seem like they're interested in it. And like you said in the program, most people don't talk about the profit share when they talk about joining Keller Williams. And to me, I mean, when I talked to my sponsor about it at first, she mentioned it, but she mentioned it kind of in a way that was like, it's there if you want to use it. And now that I'm learning more and more about it, I'm like, why did I drink some kind of Kool-Aid that nobody else drank? Because I see it like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. I love this. I'm going to tell everybody about this. I just find it very exciting. I like the whole thing. So
Well, and that just tells me, Mary, that even though your sponsor got you, and I don't know who it was, and we don't have to know, but they didn't understand, because our process teaches you to really ask great questions and find out what a value gap. And if someone had bothered to get to know you even a little bit better, this story would have come out, because it was a big value for you. This is why you're completely changing your career, right?
yeah,
Because
and I've always been a big fan of, I mean, just from college classes that I've taken, things like that, I've always been a fan of I don't know how to explain it without calling it what most people would call a pyramid scheme, but the multi-level marketing business model. It's a real business model, and it's a very effective business model. And so over the years, I've tried to kind of join little things here and there, but I never thought of real estate as that type of a model. And I've always seen real estate as kind of more of a cutthroat type of industry. And the other thing that you guys mentioned is reaching out to other people and just being like, have you ever thought about being a realtor? Because even when I've had people I've bought homes from, or who have helped sell my home, I've always told them how much I love real estate. It's a huge hobby of mine. It always has been. And all I've ever gotten is like a little head nod, like, you like real estate. I don't know if they don't want me to be their competition or what, but I've never had anybody be like, you should do it. So I was always really hesitant.
and we tell you to ask someone, hey, you might be good in my business. And if you ask that enough times, we're going to run across a Mary somewhere that's already been thinking about it. And you might help advance your dreams and goals even farther. So I love this, because I think your life experiences have made you more ready for the message. And getting to know you and asking deeper questions, someone would have discovered that you're very aware of a gap that you have, and that we all have, is that we're not prepared to grow old.
Mhm.
And so they would have had an opportunity to help you self-discover that at Keller Williams, one of the opportunities and gifts that we offer is profit share as a
Mhm.
tool to help you fix that doesn't take money and doesn't take liability and all the things that even investing in real estate actually takes.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that, because I am kind of kicking myself that I didn't do it sooner and that I didn't start sooner, because I've really always wanted to invest, and I've never been able to get there with the way that our finances, we're always breaking the piggy bank to, put braces on one of the kids, or, we just haven't gotten there yet. But I don't think that if I did it sooner, I would have had the network that I have now and the knowledge and experience that I have now. And so now really is the best time.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing about real estate, Mary, is, in some roles, it's just a job, right? So there's really no opportunity for you to go make as much as you want to make. It's based on your salary.
Mhm.
In real estate, like, you can now use those things of like your kids need braces and all the things that come up like as your fuel to
Yep.
go drive you to go make as much as you want to make as fast as you want to make it. And
Mhm.
then if you'll just apply the principles, right, of which I'm sure you already know of, living below your means and saving as much as you can, and then taking that money to go invest in real estate while at the same time focusing on profit share. Those are of the three ways to do it. You got stocks, you've got businesses, and then which we include profit share in there, and then you've got investing in real estate. And
Yep.
the McKissicks are a big proponent investing in real estate and profit share. Those are our favorite wealth building vehicles.
Yeah, and that's definitely the direction that I'm gonna go as soon as I'm able to. So yeah, the whole thing. I'm reading the Millionaire Real Estate Agent right now, and kind of the same feeling is like this book is just there for anyone to read, and it just tells you exactly what to do. I mean, Gary Keller says do this, and if you do it, he gives you the whole formula, and it's just all right there.
Yeah, I love
Very
your
inspiring.
I love your fresh eyes on this, Mary, too, because I think we get immune. We get so used to Keller Williams having so many things that we get immune to our own tools. And here's the thing, there's people out there that are where you are in your career, or even behind you, or even a little bit ahead of you, that you could just share little pieces of the MREA book with them and create that validity and that beholdenness and reciprocity that we talk about in the Profit Share course to build those relationships. And I love that you've learned very early on that the most important relationships you can have is not those buyers and sellers that you're going to get, but those other agents that you build a relationship with. Because sometimes people don't get that for a long time into their career. And that really is harder now for them to switch and understand. I should be building relationships with other realtors all along the way. There's always someone, even no matter how much I think I don't know, there's always someone who knows less that I could help.
And I think that that's part of, maybe it's from my generation and the generations before me, where you were always clawing your way to the top. And in my career, even, I've always just been told, this is how much you're worth. You know, it doesn't matter if I get a 4-star, whatever, glowing review above expectations, my pay raise is going to be 2%. And, you know, you get defeated over time with that type of a model, and people are always just kind of in competition with each other. And I feel like the newer generations, especially, it's more of a collaboration. So you don't have to be in competition with people to be successful. You're actually more successful if you can find others to collaborate with and raise each other up.
Absolutely. Collaboration is actually my word of the year. And I'm always looking for those beautiful relationships that I can bring their credentials in with my credentials, and we can do something even stronger. So I love that, because I think that is the missing gap in our industry. And, you know, the way we're going to change that is keep reaching our hand out to fellow agents and offer the help and the assistance and the tools and the validity that we have. So,
So Mary, Linda, unless you have anything else, my last question would be, what advice or opinion do you want to leave our, where our listeners are those who are interested in passive income and freedom, most specifically through Profit Share? So what do you want to leave people with as it relates to this topic?
Just that I really do believe in the Keller Williams model. I really believe that the Profit Share is going to be, it's a long-term progression, but I think it's something that if you have the opportunity to get in and start now is the best time to start. You're not too late. I think that everybody should be doing it. I don't understand why everyone isn't. It's just surprise. It blows my mind that everybody isn't as excited about it as I am. So I really think just do it, get started, and you never really know how far it can take you. But you know, not starting and not doing it isn't going to get you anywhere. So you got to find a start.
And you know what I love, because I, like you, also got in and had done some MLM things in the past. But what I love about this one is I'm not having to carry a bunch of product in my house or do whatever, but I truly feel like I'm changing lives to people that I bring to Keller Williams because of the opportunities, the tools and stuff that we have. And I love your story, because the truth is there were several missed opportunities where people didn't listen when you would say, I actually have always thought about selling real estate, or I love real estate, or they missed an opportunity. And so you're coming in with fresh eyes and saying, wow, this is a great gift that you at Keller Williams have been given. Why are more people not taking advantage of it? And that's what Press and I are asking ourselves too. So thank you for helping us let agents see that from your perspective in 20 plus years in that field, there is such a great need on the other side of 20 years that you will need and can use this money for. So don't doubt it or question it. Just go to work for it right now. And so build your wealth while you're changing lives.
And don't be afraid of the idea of real estate being commission based, because what you should really be thinking of is the unlimited income potential that it provides.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, Mary, we look forward to seeing you on our next Profit Share Mastery call.
Thank you.
And we can't wait. And again, if I were you, I would definitely use my knowledge of the long-term care to go after some of those relationships that kids and families don't know how to maneuver through, and you as their real help them do that. And then I can't wait. I want to hear about your culinary parties for your
Yeah, we've actually been planning that. My husband and I have been talking about that too, that's something that I can really use to, your 80-20, my 80% of just, I'm a dietitian and a chef, and this is my food. And then the rest will come along.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it. Do you have can I ask you a question real quick?
Sure.
Can you give me a goal or a challenge to try to meet in, the next 6 months or something like that I could try to work toward?
As you mean, as it relates to building your profit share?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you just focus on the first 5 people, who are the first 5 people? Because
In your downline?
who could you go change lives of 5 people? So if you can get that accomplished, you're already going to work that muscle, and now it's going to become an automatic thing for you. It's not going to be something that you have to think through. Who are the people? How do I do it? You're going to start to see opportunities that you could step into the conversation with people and figure out what their value gaps are, and then help them self-discover that Keller Williams can fill those more naturally. And by the way, it's the very same formula to build your real estate business.
Mm-hmm.
It's who I want to be a hero to. Who would I enjoy helping? What do you wish people had helped you with when you first got in? What do you wish someone had reached their hand and said, Mary, let me help you. You're new, let me help you. And then just go do that with other people. So pick 5 people and go do that and build those relationships, and don't worry about what your outcome is going to be. Just practice the muscle of giving and helping other people, and get them to a place where they can self-discover the things that you've self-discovered about Keller Williams. How cool is it? And how come nobody else is as excited as I am?
Well, thank you. I appreciate this so much. And it truly is an honor to get to speak to you, especially this early on.
Awesome. Good. We'll see you next month in our next Profit Share Master Call, and can't wait to hear some of your progress, either your list you've made, the conversations you've started, and let us keep helping you as you move along in this formula.
Thank you.
Awesome. Talk soon.
Thank you, Mary.
All right.
Have a great
Thanks.
day.
You too.